Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Journey Life. This is not really a podcast. This is just a video I'm doing. I'm glad you're here with me today. I'm trying something new out. I've got something that I've been writing and I want to share with you, and I hope it lands in the right way. Have you ever had someone come up to you and say, "Hey, I feel that blank," and then proceed to rattle off a list of what they believe are hard, irrefutable facts? Over the years, and especially back when I was a school administrator, I heard it all the time from parents, teachers, students, staff. They would start a sentence with, "I feel that blank," followed by, "I feel like I'm not heard. I feel like that I'm being ignored. I feel like you don't like me. I feel disrespected. I feel like you should be nicer to me. I feel like you should blank, blank, blank," and on it goes. Now, listen, feelings matter, and this is important. Feelings are not facts, but they do matter. Just because I feel something doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean it's someone else's responsibility. It doesn't mean it even reflects what is really happening. Feelings are not the truth. Feelings do not reflect reality. Feelings are true that you're feeling those things. Now, who can understand it? Yikes, that's pretty strong. But it's also freeing because it reminds me my feelings are not always accurate. I'm not dictated. Life isn't dictated by my feelings. My emotions don't always give me a clear view of what's really going on, of how people are, of what is reality. They're like warning lights on the dashboard. They tell me something's going on under the hood, but they don't tell me exactly what is going on. Now, there's powerful and powerless emotions, there's powerful and powerless people. Here's what I've learned over time: saying, "I feel angry," is powerful, it's honest, it's responsible. It means I'm owning my emotions. I feel blank. But saying, I feel angry because you did something, I feel angry because you didn't do something, I feel angry because that's not powerful. That's actually weak. It shifts the blame. It says, "My emotions are your responsibility." Now, going to "I feel angry" is just, "I feel angry." Okay. But when you go beyond that, you start blaming something for your emotions. That's weakness. That's powerlessness in the very worst of ways. That's allowing somebody to own your emotional state and have control over you, even though they probably don't want to have control over you. And we're not created to live that way. We weren't made to be emotional hostages to other people's words or actions. You and I weren't made to be emotional hostages to other people's words or actions. Galatians 5:22 and 23 reminds us that self control is a fruit of the Spirit. It's not other control, it's not situation control, it's not even "I will control myself like just by my own power." So the self control I have is a spiritual control over myself. Okay. Now, the most powerful people I know aren't the loudest or the most controlling. They're the ones who take ownership over their own souls, over their own emotions. I'm going to share something I don't think I've shared on Facebook before. It's not a personal story. Don't worry. I do get personal on these things, but this one's not super personal. This is the purple giraffe experiment. It's a great story about how I learned about this. But let me tell you about this purple giraffe experiment. If someone came up to me and said, "Hey, Les, you're a purple giraffe," would I get offended? No, I just smile and move on. Why? Because I'm confident I'm not a purple giraffe. Now, if someone says, "You're a prideful pastor, you're a prideful podcaster, you're a know it all," I'll pause, I'll reflect, I'll think about it, because I could be those things. I'll ask God to check my heart about it. But if I know that I'm walking well, if I'm seeking Him, that label, I'm not going to allow it to stick either. When people call me things, I'm going to do it with the same thing I do with the purple giraffe. I'm going to let it just go in one ear and out the other ear. Now, we did a podcast, Pastor Tim and I, on what you do with criticism and how you to have a growth mindset, to be strong, to be a disciple, or to be a disciple of Jesus, to be a follower of Jesus. You got to learn how to take criticism, even bad criticism. Now, Romans, I think about it, but I don't use it a lot. Sober judgment is knowing who you are and who you are not, and not being shaken every time someone gets emotional and calls you a name. So do not think of yourself more highly, but rather we often forget about the big but that's in the sentence. Sober judgment is about knowing who you are and who you are not, and not being shaken every time someone gets emotional and someone calls you a name and someone says you did something. Sometimes I feel is really just a disguise for trying to control the other person. I feel like you made me afraid. What you did made me sad. Is I'm trying to control you to stop doing what makes me feel a way I don't want to feel. I feel like you don't care could really mean you're not responding the way I want, and I'm going to guilt you into changing. There's better ways to say it. In my Substack article, I put some better ways to say it. But when you say I feel like you don't care, that's not really emotional honesty. That's manipulation dressed up in emotion. And again, there's better ways to say that. I'm not going to go into that in this video, but we can. Take every thought captive moment. When I start thinking they don't care, I can take that thought captive. I can take that emotion captive and think about that emotion. Think about the thought that's producing it. And that's where life coaching can come in. But don't let every emotional wave toss you around. Don't let everything that you feel move you to the right and to the left, up and down. Sit with your feelings, examine them, choose to respond to truth, not just to react to them. Choose to respond to truth. Don't just react to emotions, your own and others. Here's a reality check for us. I once had someone say to me, I feel like I'm not being heard. And I told them, no, I heard you. I just don't agree with you. And you still don't feel heard because their feelings, they're so stuck on, I need him to agree with me. So when I say, no, I heard you, I'm listening. In fact, I'm probably listening to you better than you're listening to yourself. That can get irritating. That's a great way to break up a relationship, but it's also the best way to get healthy in your relationships. What they really wanted wasn't to be heard, they wanted to be agreed with, and that's a big difference. Now, a lot of people who say they're not being heard, they're often the ones not listening to you or to others. So here's the thing. What do we do with our feelings? Here's what I try to do, and maybe it'll help you. I feel them. I like to call them emotions that you feel. They're not. I sit with them. I examine them. So I acknowledge them. I say, hey, I'm feeling this way. If you've been listening to me for a while, you know that I have an emotions chart that's really helped me step up my emotional intelligence and my self-awareness and the spiritual self-control that I want to have. And I examine them carefully. I then go and express them responsibly. Sometimes I just yell at someone. Sometimes I just get mad. Sometimes I just go in a spiral and get sad. Sure, these are on the best days. This is the goal. This is the me I want to be. And then I just surrender the need to control anyone but myself. I don't even controlling myself. I surrender that to the Holy Spirit. I don't blame the Holy Spirit that I'm out of control. That's a whole nother podcast. It's a whole nother teaching. But I surrender the need to control anyone but myself. All right, John. This is one I use a lot. This is one you probably know. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Now, the truth here is the truth of Jesus, but it's also the smaller truth. And the truth is, your emotions aren't the truth. Your assumptions aren't your truth. Your I feel statements aren't the truth. No matter how much you emphasize them, no matter how angry you say them, no matter how often you say them, no matter all the proof you have in your mind, in your emotional bank to prove that your assumptions, your emotions are true, they're not true. So the truth is, we want to live in reality as close as possible, and then according to his truth, to God's truth. And his truth says you're responsible for your own heart, your own mind, your own soul, your emotions, because trying to be responsible for someone else's, that's exhausting. That's something I learned as a teacher and as a youth pastor over the last 3.5 decades or so, is that it's not my job to be responsible for everyone else's emotions. I'm responsible for certain parts of things, not for their emotions, not for their thought life, not even for what they think about me. That doesn't mean I don't work at being heard well, understood well, being clear. Hey, I hope this little experiment works out. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If this episode stirred something in you, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love you to share it. If you found it helpful, share it. If you didn't like it, but if you know of somebody who man, I wish their emotions would get straight, share it with them. Now, I'm not kidding. Share it with them. Someone who might need this perspective. It's a powerful thing. As always, keep walking your journey with grace, courage, and truth. Until next time, either on podcast or Substack or here on YouTube, stay real, stay grounded, stay in step with the Holy Spirit. God bless you.